HSER 508 project is for Dr. West, which has been very, very helpful during this class. Inspiration, she's been a great professor. Next slide, please. My next option that I want to talk about is purpose. My purpose today is to develop interpersonal communication design that will demonstrate my appreciation, helping me maintain accurate awareness, the needs and the resources, while seeking to develop a healthy, healing, and holy relationship. The next thing I would like to talk about is my overarching goal. And my goal today is basically, number one, I'd like to start with my introduction. I have been a pastor now for 19 years, in the ministry for 19 years, pastor for 5 years. I'm the father of 5 children, ranging from ages 19 to 29. My lovely wife, Lisa Hutchinson, the first lady of Vision for God People Ministry, I started about a year ago. And we came with that name because we know that we perish without a vision. I'm working on my master's now in counseling at Liberty University, and prayerfully and hopefully I'll be done with my master's by Christmas and will proceed on to work on my PhD in counseling. And with that degree, my main goal is to help families. My wife and I, we've taken in about 25 children from the local foster group here. There's a lot of different foster groups, but this particular one that we've taken in 25 children, we end up adopting 2 twins, Kenta Manta, and we love them to death. They are 2.5 years old. I am the youngest out of the 9 children. My mom and dad, Willie Hutchinson, from a small town, West Mississippi. They've been together for 65 years. Can I tell you a little bit about myself? I actually work as an adjunct instructor at ITT. I've been teaching college now for about 8 years. And that's enough of me. Let's get down to the bottom line. My overarching goal. Number one, identification of my goal today is to basically talk about the area that I want to master in. And the area that I want to master in is family counseling, basically. And we know that that entails a lot. Next slide, please. With family counseling, it basically deals with the husband and the wife and the family. And, now we have blended families. There's so many different methods to mend the family together. But because communication is one of the main issues in marriages today, and I believe it was Peterson that wrote a book, and the name of that book was Why Don't People Listen? I think that's very important. Next slide, please. Sometimes we don't listen because we feel that whatever we have in our mind is priority over our spouse. In other words, we feel that if it's the man, he's the man of the house, and he feels that whatever he's got going, it should be priority. But it should not be that way. It should be a mutual agreement, and it should be talked amongst the husband and wife and the children. This can cause a serious problem. Now I want to talk about some of the methods now. Interpersonal communication. You must have some type of plan of action. Some type of plan, some type of goal when you're going into counseling. There are many methods, as I said, but the communication is the main one. Next slide. One of the methods I would like to talk about is called attribution theory. Attribution theory is a part of a social psychological tradition and explains how individuals go through a process that makes inference about observed behavior. Attribution theory assumes that we make attributions or social judgments as a way to clarify predicted behavior. In other words, judging. And we know that the scripture talks about the way that we judge someone, we shall be judged accordingly. Next slide, please. One other interpersonal communication method is boundaries. An individual private information is protected. It should be protected. The permeability of these boundaries are ever changing and allows certain parts of public access to certain pieces of information belonging to your clients. This information should not be shared with anyone. It should be protected at all times, even when the client is no longer your client. There should be no interaction with anyone in that particular family, that client, because it would not look good for you being as a professional. One other thing, ethically, it is not good. Next slide, please. Another method is called relational control. It refers to who within the relationship is in control of it, the pattern of behavior between partners over time. Not any individual behavior defines the control within a relationship. Patterns of behavior involve individual responses to other assertions. There are three kinds of responses. One down response are submissive to or accepting of another assertion. One up response are in opposition to or counter another assertion. One across responses are neutral in nature. Next slide. Always remember the scripture and put God first. There's many different methods. There's tons of things we could do to mend our relationship, our communication of skills. But I believe that we can do all things through Christ that strengthen us. And that is what the Lord tells us in the Holy Bible. Next slide, please. I read a book once. It talked about why don't people listen. Very, very good book by Dr. Peterson. That is one book I think that everyone needs to read. It is very good. It teaches us methods, how we should allow our partner to talk about their problem. In other words, one talk, one listen. And it goes that way until you're done communicating, until you're done. And I believe that you should pray before you do this and pray afterwards. Just give it to the Lord. Next slide, please. We should always have goals. Set our goals. Without setting goals, don't plan on being successful. Next slide. Stand focused on your goals. A lot of times we can be distracted by children, our jobs, whether it's income or just a mean boss or just a hectic schedule. Stay focused on your goals. Always have a strategy. You should work together, love, and have faith. Next slide. Know your target areas, whether it's financial issues, health issues, communication issues, lack of knowing God. There could be many, many areas in relationships, in marriages, that can cause serious problems. Next slide. There's many intervention methods, and because I chose marriage and family counseling, marriage counseling is not about how partners behave. It is not about training to communicate. It's not about training people to manage conflict and resolution. It's about teaching people to communicate effectively with results. With lots of training, you can get through anything. And above all, love is one of the number one methods, because we know that God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. Next slide. In my closing, I became thinking about the Ten Commandments. And I believe the Ten Commandment rule, if we use that in our life, along with all the methods that we have learned, we will be very successful. And I would just like to add to this. I hope that you have enjoyed my presentation. I've learned a lot during this class. I know I have a lot more to learn. And I'd just like to say, thank you, Dr. West, for being such a great professor.